Hi, everybody. I'm Andrew. I'm a fourth year student on the Wildcat Welcome Board of Directors. Welcome to our third NYou event, where we bring in some current students to share their own experiences around a given topic and to answer questions that you might have for them. Your time at Northwestern is yours to create. And one part of the experience so many of you have been asking about is involvement in student organizations at Northwestern. So that's what we're going to focus on for tonight's event. The purpose of tonight is to provide you with some perspectives of current students as they reflect back on their first year at Northwestern and getting involved, how they knew what they wanted to get involved in, what they wish they would have done differently, and more. The way a student org fair is held, or exactly what type of events a student org can hold, will definitely look a little bit different this year. But we're definitely focused tonight on what persists regardless of format and how you might navigate the involvement environment. So what we're going to do is start by introducing ourselves. So like I said, my name is Andrew Golden. I'm a fourth year student studying journalism and African American studies. I'm from Reisterstown, Maryland, which is about 30 minutes outside of Baltimore. Trying to think of the other. Oh, and the fun fact I'm going to ask all of our panelists today is, what's the first place they think they'll visit once they're able to fully travel? My place would be the Eiffel Tower. I spoke French for most of high school and middle school, and I've always wanted to go to the Eiffel Tower, so that would be mine. So do you guys want to go ahead and introduce yourself, starting with Tessa?
Sure. Hi, guys. My name is Tessa. I use she, her pronouns. I'm a second year and I'm studying human development and psychological services with a Spanish minor. I'm originally from Winnetka, Illinois, about 20 minutes north of Evanston, very close by. And the first place I want to travel once all this is over and better is definitely Spain. I want to be able to use my Spanish and really get into it.
Hi, y'all. My name is Steven. I am a third year journalism and economics major with a creative writing minor. I'm from Williamsburg, Virginia, which is in the Southeast. And first place I'll go to, I would love to go to Antarctica, but I don't know if I actually want to go there or it's just super hot in my apartment. So not gonna lie.
Hi guys, my name's Akie. I'm a fourth year student studying food performance, music education, and social policy, and I'm from Alexandria, Virginia, which is 10 minutes outside of DC. And I guess the first place I'd like to visit is probably Lima, Peru, just because I've been binging all of street food on Netflix.
My name is Maya. Hi, I use she, her, hers pronouns. I am a rising senior, which is crazy, and I study journalism, sociology, and gender studies. I'm from Annapolis, Maryland, so relatively close to Andrew. And my friends and I actually planned a spring break trip to New Orleans for this spring, and I'm hoping that we still get to go on it. So that's my next travel goal.
That's very weird, because my friends and I were also planning a trip to New Orleans for spring break this year. But
You're actually kidding, so were mine.
Okay, there we go. We'll all meet up in New Orleans. Look, we got a lot of similarities here. Got a lot of DMV people in here as well. So yeah, travel and geography seems very, very common with this group. But unfortunately, we're not going to be talking about geography. We're going to be talking about involvement in Northwestern. So what I want to do, to ask you guys first, where was your mind at when you were first coming to Northwestern as you thought about getting involved in clubs and other organizations?
I've said this before on the other webinar that I was on, but I was definitely maybe overexcited even to get involved in all of the clubs and organizations that you can join here. And so I went to the org fair and signed up for literally everything because I just felt like I had to do so many things at once, which I eventually learned to pare it down to the things that mean a lot to me. But when I first got here, I was definitely super excited to join everything.
That's so true. The feeling of there's so much to do. I feel like I was less excited and more frightened by that at the beginning because there's definitely a little bit of oh my God, literally any interest that I've ever had, there's a club for that I could do right now. But I think like Maya said, just like paring it down a little bit was super useful.
Yeah, I was like kind of in the same boat too, where I like joined every single listserv that was on campus that I was mildly interested in. And I guess I was kind of like blindsided by the fact that a lot of student orgs are much more work and more involved than they are in high school. Like I didn't even know that there were applications to join things. But over time through, my time at Northwestern, I've kind of also like doubled down on things I really am interested and passionate in. And there's so many opportunities here on campus that are available to you.
Yeah, just the same idea of like I signed up for everything I was interested in, and ultimately it also like came to things that I did in high school, and I was like, oh, I want to continue these XYZ things. Especially for me was music, so definitely.
Okay, so a lot of similarities here about trying to joining a lot of different things and seeing what stuck and what didn't. Also, another thing I want to say that I forgot to mention earlier, for people who are watching this, if you have questions, definitely feel free to put them in the chat. I'm going to be able to answer as many of them as possible based off of what we know. So if you have any questions about involvement in Northwestern and the mindset that people had coming in, definitely feel free to put it in the chat because we'd love to answer your questions. But moving on to the next question that I had is how did you find out about what to get involved in or what orgs to join when you first came onto campus?
Yeah, I can do a little bit of a Medill one. So along with the regular activities fair and like clubs fair that everyone can attend, there was also a Medill like publications fair, which I didn't realize when I went to the activities fair. I was like scrambling all over the place looking for the publications among like the million booths, but the publications one was just like probably like 10 or 15 different ones across campus, and they had all sent like some student representatives that you could talk to and everything. And that's where I like kind of got the vibes of them and like figured out what joining would look like for each of them. And yeah, it was super useful.
We all kind of talked about the student org fair, which is basically just like in the student center, this whole floor is taken up by people with stands who like give you information. And I didn't end up sticking with a lot of the things I signed up for at the org fair. The things that I ended up sticking to, I found out about just through talking to people and asking what they were involved in, and people would often like mention things that they were doing. And I would ask to get involved, and they'd like refer me to someone. Like it wasn't that like formal, but they would like tell me who to talk to. So that's how I found a lot of cool stuff, actually.
Yeah, I think mine, I did like a service-oriented club, and from that I learned about other clubs that I wanted to join. And it's definitely, I agree with Maya, like this word of mouth, as well as like the org fair was really helpful for that as well.
Yeah, I think another thing that a lot of you guys just touched on, but something I want to re-emphasize. I feel like at Northwestern, people are very open in the community and willing to talk to you about what they're involved in or how to get involved. One thing I think is important to stress is that it's not. Don't be afraid to reach out to people about joining a club or organization because we're all students. It's not like you're reaching out to like a professor about something or like, somebody who's like super older than you. Like we're all students trying to like gain different experiences and learn a lot of different things and have a lot of different interests. So definitely don't be afraid to reach out if you need to. And then another question I want to ask you guys is, in your first few quarters at Northwestern, what was most surprising to you in the involvement realm of everything?
I kind of mentioned this earlier, but I guess a big surprising fact was how involved I would be in the organizations that I am in. I think because there's a lot of student leadership involved, there's a lot of autonomy, I guess, in terms of how much you get to do within your group, but that also comes a lot with like a lot of time commitment in terms of you can't really just like show up and kind of hang out, but whether you're doing something you're really passionate about, like you're really in there to be designing events. Some student orgs also have some like philanthropic like fundraisers and stuff, and you're really like active within the Northwestern community itself in your student org.
I think something that really surprised me, not necessarily like about the process of getting involved, but just what I ended up getting involved in was definitely not what I expected when I first came in from high school. I thought I was going to do all of the same things. And I ended up finding some new things that I really liked and ended up sticking with for all 4 years. So like my plan of what I was going to get involved with changed a lot in a way that I'm really happy about. So that was something that surprised me.
Yeah, I think for me, it was like I would look at my schedule and say I only had maybe 2 classes a day and say, oh, I have all this free time. Let me join all these clubs. No, there was plenty of work to fill that time. So realizing I had to, kind of finalize the kind of clubs I wanted to be in and realize I didn't have all the time in the world, despite the fact that classes might be twice a day. You have plenty of other things to do.
Yeah, something, I also wanted to bring this up for the last question and totally forgot. But what I also wanted to bring up is that there's Wildcat Connection, which is a website to explore the different organizations that there are on campus. So if there are things that you're interested in or like more general topics, it might help you narrow down specifically what these different organizations offer. So definitely check out Wildcat Connection. And this year, the student org fair is going to happen in September after class gets started. But also during Wildcat Welcome this year, there's going to be involvement workshops that kind of give you an opportunity to get a feel of how involvement looks here before you go to the student fair and whatnot. So definitely make sure to check those out to get a sense of what involvement in different clubs on campus will look like. But one thing you guys have all kind of touched on is that you obviously chose a lot of different clubs and got involved in everything. But what made you guys come back to the clubs and organizations that you joined? Deep in
I
thought.
think for me, it was definitely the sense of community. So I talked about music, and music has always been a huge, important thing in my life. So knowing that I could create community in the music group that I'm in was kind of like this big, like, hoorah, found my people kind of moment for me that I was like, priority one is after school is being in this group. So that was definitely for me, like realizing this is a community of people that has the same interests as I do. So I want to stick with them.
Yeah, even not even like huge community wise, but I feel like I kept coming, I'm on Club Frisbee, which I feel like I kept coming back to because of like these individual friendships that I'd made like on the team. And I think that holds true for everything that I've been involved in, just like knowing that there's going to be like one of your best friends at like whatever club event it is or whatever like meeting. Um, and that is just what happens, I feel like, by being involved in these clubs is just like finding these people like even within your interests that are most similar to you or that you really vibe with. And so I think that that for me is like, oh my God, like if I go to that right now, like I'll see this friend and that friend and this friend. So it's always kept me coming back.
Yeah, I would definitely echo the community that I've found in my student orgs, as well as just feeling passionate about whatever the focus of like the student org is. And if I'm like, feeling empowered doing whatever student org event I'm doing, whether that be I like teaching littles in like the community in Evanston, or whether it be like a theater production, and just, I guess, putting in all that time helps you not only build your friendships, but also kind of your larger connection to Northwestern.
I think that like the community is a big thing, but I also think I've really benefited from like gaining skills and participating in things that I wouldn't really be able to in the classroom. And so I feel like I've kind of like developed a whole nother side of myself outside of what I'm studying, which I think makes me like a more well-rounded person, which I think is generally good. So that's something that made me keep coming back.
Maya, I definitely feel that point. I think a lot of the times in classrooms we expect to be pushed and challenged in that way, but I also think outside the classroom, be able to push yourself to these clubs and learn stuff that maybe you didn't know coming in can kind of change your perspective on the whole experience, and understanding experiences of people who might not be like you and might have the same background as you. So I totally hear where you're coming from about, about having more of a whole well-rounded experience and self. So another question I want to ask you guys. So what's the most helpful piece of advice that you received, or just kind of what would you do differently looking back at your first year at Northwestern?
Someone said to me at the beginning, I think it might have been one of my PAs, was like, get super good at quitting stuff, because you never want to like quit a group and feel like you have some bad blood or some feud with like another student, because like that's just a silly thing to happen. And just being like straight up about like why you're not gonna do an activity anymore, or like why you're moving on to another thing, is always going to be like understandable. So just like everyone expects you to just like do what you need to do and what's best and what you feel good doing. So like, definitely don't be scared to quit things if you want to.
Yeah, I think like definitely in that same vein, there's like the one like popular Ron Swanson quote that's like never half-ass two things, whole-ass one thing. And I really agree with it. I think that if you spread yourself too thin and try to do a little bit for a lot of orgs, you're not going to get as much out of it as you thought. So if you pare it down to like a couple of things that you're really putting a lot of your heart and soul into, like that's where all of the fulfillment really comes from.
Yeah, I totally agree with what was said. I have that quote hung up on my desk every year. It's amazing. It's a great one to hold on to. I think for me, it was also continuously checking in about, hey, I signed up for this listserv in September of 2018, and come winter of 2018, I was like, am I still interested in this? Or maybe do I want to try something else? So continuously checking in about what you want, what you've been doing since high school, things that you might want to try. And again, like time management in the sense that like I might need to take a quarter off from this club because it's requiring a lot of time and I'm in a really difficult class and I don't have enough time to do this. So definitely continuously checking in about what the club is contributing to your life and what you're contributing to the club and finding a balance there.
Yeah, I would definitely echo that. I love that Ron Swanson quote so much. I think it's also like I think someone told me that it's like really important to just, this is so simple, but like, doing things you enjoy. And I think sometimes there's, sometimes you get peer pressure to like join specific professional groups or things that are specifically for your major. And it's okay to just join clubs because they're fun. And letting yourself relax and kind of enjoy those things and finding your interests, whether they're academic or not.
Great. That was all great advice, especially the Ron Swanson quote. You can never go wrong with the Ron Swanson quote. So we're getting towards the end here, so I want to give students the opportunity to put questions in the chat if they have any. So if you have any, definitely put them in there. But while I see if we have any last questions, I want to ask you guys, what's your favorite club that you've been in since you've been at Northwestern? I know you got to choose one, so that's kind of a hard one, but.
I think for me, it's probably my a cappella group because we are just a group of fun, quirky souls that just all kind of mesh together to create an amazing community and some amazing music. So I found community in a lot of awesome places, but they're just so special to my heart, and I think it's so wonderful to create something with them, and they're so great. I love them.
I, on and off throughout the past 3 years, have worked for one of the magazines on campus. And it's been really great for me because, well, one, it's flexible, so you join quarter by quarter. And I've been on a few different teams. I've done design, I've done writing for opinion and entertainment and politics. So I've got to like dip my toe in a lot of different things and get some hands-on experience in journalism that I think is really cool. And the people are great.
I guess for me, I'm in a music education program where we go out and mentor kids in the juvenile detention center at Cook County, and we help kids make beats and do some like music tech and teach a little bit of like music theory. And I think being in that group has been both like really fulfilling to kind of take what I'm learning in my like education coursework and putting it where it needs to be, and like being able to experiment outside of like Western classical music in the school has been really great. And also the cohort of like peer mentors that I'm in has been really great. And us driving back and forth through downtown Chicago has been like a really great bonding experience for us to talk about teaching and just ourselves as students. So I think that's been my favorite experience here.
Yeah, I don't know if it really qualifies as a club, but I was going to say this underground fried chicken business that I've been co-running has probably been like my favorite activity, just because that's a super fun thing to do. That's all.
It's very, very quality chicken. There's one question that I see in the chat, which is the question is from Josh, who says, typically how involved are staffer positions at the publications on campus? So I know Maya and Steven, you guys are in clubs and publications on campus. I also am, so I can also answer. Do you want to answer? Do you want me to start? How you want to go about this?
I can start. It depends what kind of position you're in, whether you're doing writing or like design, or if you're like a publisher or you're on the marketing side. But I think typically if you're an editor or like a higher up position, that'll end up being like 3-ish, 4-ish times a week. I think if you're like just like a staff writer, a lot of times you can like pick and choose like when you're going to take stories, or as a designer, when you're going to take assignments that will fit in with your schedule. So that can be pretty much as often as you want it to be, from my experience.
Yeah, and I being mine and I are on different publications, but again, like a staff writer, it's one of those things where it's like you kind of pick and choose when you have the time to do it yourself, like you kind of make a decision on that. Being an editor is probably a little bit more often than a staff writer, but again, like a staff writer, it's like you get to choose kind of when you write and what topics you're most interested in writing on, and like you can kind of go in and out whenever you choose. So it just kind of depends on the publication and how much you want to be involved personally. All right, I think those are all the questions that we have, but thank you guys for joining this third week of NYou. And next week is going to be about what incoming or what PAs wish they knew when they were coming in Northwestern as freshmen. But thank you guys for tuning in this week, and we'll see you guys next week.